Okay, what the heck is human design and how can you manifest a property? Now, if you have been listening to the podcast for a while, you've probably already heard me mention human design a few times now. Now, I discovered human design last year. I don't even remember exactly when it was. But when I tell you it completely freaking blew my mind, like, I don't even know how to express it, honestly. I feel like I just became so much more enlightened and understood myself in so many different ways and really just learned to accept myself. And whenever I'm feeling certain things, I just like look back at my human design chart and I'm like, wow, of course, this makes so much sense that I'm thinking about it this way or that I'm doing things this way and why this feels easy and this doesn't. Now, bringing up human design and manifestation is super vulnerable for me because, as someone who used to be an engineer, like I was all science, all math, play by the book, et cetera, and the idea and concept of like human design manifestation was like way too woo woo, right? But it's so funny because if you listen to a podcast episode of mine a few episodes back with Sina and Keisha Get Married, Cena, he was also a dentist. So kind of the same as me, grew up very traditionally and like all about science and one plus one equals two, that kind of thing, you know? And even he was like, oh yeah, human design is legit because it is honestly so freaking crazy how aligned. And if you know me, you know that I just like believe, and I've always believed that there are just these different forces out there that science, like traditional science, just cannot explain. And I feel like for anyone who's religious, it's kind of the same thing for them, where it's like, how can you explain God or if you're whatever religion you are, right? I just believe that there is some other forces within the universe that we just cannot explain and we haven't been able to explain, right? And time again, science has proven us wrong and we've come up with new hypotheses. And so that's where I'm like, okay, I really do think that there are some legs behind human design. And the funny thing is too that after I work through some of the woo-woo stuff like with any of my students, that's when I really see big shifts within themselves and their ability to actually get under contract. Like I swear every month I do money and mindset sessions where we kind of go over working through the mindset portion, working through the manifestation portion, working through the human design portion that goes through all of this. And like literally this last week, one of my students, Kat, she just got under contract. And it's so funny because the previous week she was really freaking out about how she like wasn't going to be able to qualify for a multifamily property and all this stuff. And was you could tell that her nervous system just like wasn't calm and working through a lot of that stuff, kind of working through the woo-woo, talking to her about how sometimes when you grip so tight onto your goals, you're actually constricting the flow of energy to be able to give you the thing that you want. That was what was the switch for her to then suddenly be under contract. And this has happened for so many of my students. It's crazy. But that's also why I feel like so many people who want to get into real estate investing just aren't successful because they're so focused on the strategy, but they haven't worked on the mindset. They haven't worked on really understanding who they are, how they manifest, what's actually going to get them closer to their goals even faster. And it's like they just aren't living in truth with their human design to allow their manifestations to come through. So, guys, it's legit. And even if you don't think it is legit, that's okay because it's still just a tool, right? It's a tool that's going to help you navigate life, navigate real estate investing, navigate your emotions, your work, everything. And just like give you so much more clarity and have compassion for yourself and for others around you. And it's just so important to understand the kind of person that you actually are because it's going to affect the way that you live, the way that you do things, and allow you to live so much more harmoniously. Okay, so for this episode, I'm going to specifically be talking about my human design type so that you can get a better understanding. Like, there are so many different human design types, so I just don't have the time to like go through and describe every single one. But by describing my own, you can see how that has played into just about everything that I've done, okay, and why it's worked and why things haven't worked. And it's so funny because especially if you know me, like if you're a friend of mine, you actually know me, right? And you hear these different descriptions, you're probably going to be like, whoa, what? That is accurately scary. And for like 95% of the people that I actually pull their human design charts, so crazy accurate. It's wild. Okay, so first off, what actually even is human design? And more importantly, how can we use it to help you invest in real estate or create a business or do whatever it is that you want to do in your life? So, human design is just this holistic self-knowledge system that combines astrology, the Kabbalah, quantum physics, and some other stuff as well to create a person's energetic blueprint or energetic design. And it's literally just based off of a person's birth date, the time, and the place. So it is literally the only information that you put in to generate your human design chart is birth date, time, and place. That is it. Like it's not based off of questions that you answer like with like Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram. Like it is literally the only thing that it knows are those three things. And if you actually want to go and look at your human design chart, you can either go to myhumandesign.com or ahumandesign.com and then you can pull up your chart. But there's also an app called the My Human Design app by Jenna Zoe. It's so good. I literally look at it at least once a week, just going through, and she updates things in there. It's so helpful. It's like my party trick nowadays. I'll pull it up for people whenever I'm hanging out with them. I'm like, we should look at your human design. But seriously, go ahead, check it out. It's so good. Now, the most important thing when you're looking at your human design is your energy type. Now, I am a manifesting generator. Now, manifesting generators have super dynamic energy. Like they're very dynamic, they have this creative potential, and they have rapid manifestation abilities. So, like when you see me doing a billion things and starting different projects really fast and going at it full force, it's literally because I am a manifesting generator. That is my energy type. That is what I do. So, like anyone who knows, I had the idea to create this podcast, and within like literally less than a month, I think it was about 3 weeks, it was up, running, live, 10 episodes recorded, ready to go. Whereas for so many people, it takes them months, sometimes years to actually start a podcast. Same thing with starting the Wanderlust Wealth Academy. I like had my idea, wrote everything down, 3 weeks, sat down, recorded, went for it. That is just my energy. That's the way that I am. That is my core being. And not everyone is actually supposed to be like that. So, this is where it's really important to know your energy type and not compare yourself to other people because your energy type is going to be different to the next person's. And it's also why I picked up so many properties so quickly, right? Is when I get the idea in my mind, it's happening and it's go full force ahead. And manifesting generators are also multi passionate. So they're meant to do various different things over their lifetime. That is why, for some people, it may seem like my life is exhausting because I'm literally doing 8 million things, but that's just literally how I'm wired. And in order to be happy and successful, I just cannot stay in one lane. I'm meant to switch careers. I'm meant to switch strategies. I'm meant to do all these different things and only do the things that actually spark a passion inside of me. It literally says that a manifesting generator's gift to the world is to break us out of the boxes we live in and expand our perspective on what's possible. If that's not me to a T, I don't know what is. Which is why me just like abruptly quitting engineering and going into interior design and going into real estate investing, creating a course, like that is literally just a part of my makeup. And that's what I'm going to probably be doing for the rest of my life is constantly pivoting and trying different things and all this stuff. And when you're not actually living in alignment, you get frustrated, which is why I got so frustrated in my corporate engineering job. And like my not self theme, which is basically how you react when you're not living in alignment, is to be frustrated. So whenever I'm frustrated, I have to go back and look at, okay, am I actually living in alignment? Or is there something else and I'm supposed to actually be pivoting and trying a different thing? Okay. Now there are so many other things that you could go deeper into human design and just your energy type, but let's really now start to get into how does this affect how you manifest? Especially, how does this even relate to real estate and real estate investing? So, once we understand how we function and how we operate, it's important to know your strategy. So, because I'm a manifesting generator, my strategy is to respond. So, your strategy is the way you make things happen in your life and how you go about actually making your dream life. Because the universe is constantly sending us clues on what gets you excited and what doesn't. And because my strategy is to respond, it's only until I get that full body feeling of yes that I should actually be doing the thing. That's like, for example, let's take my podcast. For like a year or two, I'd been thinking of starting a podcast, but I really just, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like the right time. My body was like, I don't know, I could start a podcast, but I don't even know what I'd want to start it of. And it just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Until suddenly I had the idea come to me of what I wanted it to be. And it felt like the right time. And my whole being was like, we are freaking doing this. It's time. Let's go. But It's learning to wait for that response, right? Because sometimes, the way that we work in this world, they're like, you got to go at it full force ahead, go, 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 go. But if your human design literally does not operate like that, you're going to keep hitting walls. And so I, in general, thrive in environments that allow me to respond. That's why I love interview episodes, right? Because I am constantly responding to whatever the other person says. It's so much harder for me to do these like solo episodes just because I'm generally not responding. I'm kind of creating out of my brain, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But with these interview episodes, they come so easy and fluid because I'm just responding to what people have to say. It's the same thing with whenever I'm on Instagram and I do the Ask Me Anything boxes. It's so much easier for me to do those than to just like think up of stuff that's in my head. But so, for example, as some of you know, I just moved to Denver and I posted on my Instagram stories that I was really looking for like a bougie gym, right? And I said I was trying all of these different gyms and I was like, none of them really quite feel right. They'll feel fine, but I don't know. It's just like not really getting me excited. Then I honestly don't even know how I found this place, but instead I found this like entrepreneurship membership club that also has a gym and it looks super interesting. So I signed up for a tour, walked in, instantly fell in love. Now, I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit out of the budget that I had originally thought for myself for a gym. But because there's so many other factors like networking that goes into it, they have events, they've got a pool, they've got all this other stuff. I was like, okay, yes, this is 100% the right move. Like, I honestly didn't even need to think about it too long. My body just knew that it was a yes. My gut knew that it was a yes. Okay. We're going for it. Let's do this. Versus other situations, like, for example, when I was looking at properties that first time I was trying to buy my first real estate investment property, I became my own realtor because I literally knew that I was going to be an annoying client. Like I knew that it was going to be really hard for other realtors to deal with me because I just knew that I would know when a property felt like a yes or felt like a no. And even though on paper, maybe it seemed like, oh my gosh, this property is perfect. If I went there and I was like, I don't know, I'm just not feeling right about this, it was a no go. I'm very much, my gut is going to tell me what I need to do and what I don't need to do. And that is what I'm going to follow. And anytime I stray away from that, it never bodes well for me. But then it's like when I saw my first property and the property that I actually purchased, it was literally a full body yes. I remember I went to go see the property, put an offer in right away, was like, oh, wait, what is happening? Like, I'm suddenly under contract within less than 24 hours. What is happening? But my body knew that this was right for me. And so sometimes you have to really just go with what your human design is. And the funny thing is that first property, I honestly couldn't have like made it up, right? It was in a completely different area than I was originally looking for. I had not been looking at new constructions at the time. It's not like I had written down this is exactly what I want, but I knew that it was right. And because of the way my human design is, I needed to wait for myself to respond to the property that came up on the market versus really planning out every little thing. But so here's the thing, not everyone has this gut feeling and this gut reaction. So if you're like, okay, cool, but I don't really understand what that gut feeling means, like I don't really get that visceral body, hell yes or hell no. So, yeah, I highly recommend you go and look at what your actual strategy is because that is going to tell you how you make decisions. Just because mine is to respond, it doesn't mean that yours is going to be. It could be completely different. So, that's why I say go actually look at your human design. That way, you're going to know and you're going to be so much more aware of how you're responding to different things and why things are happening the way they are happening. But so now let's go into the actual manifestation process. So, what even is manifestation? Manifestation is the practice of using thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and actions. Now, people always forget the actions part of it all, but actions is so important. The practice of using thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and actions to turn an idea into reality. So, yes, there's the thinking, there's the visualizing, and all of that stuff, but there's also the taking action. And the idea is that by consistently visualizing your desired outcome, you can actually program your subconscious mind to attract them into reality. Now, once again, sounds like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, right? But there is literally neuroscience research that shows you that mental imagery activates the same neural pathways as physical experiences. And I know that I have personally manifested so so much into my life. My first investment property and my super gorgeous apartment in Portugal with a view overlooking the river for a few months, and my move back to Colorado. And I manifest trips literally all the time. I pretty much manifested my membership club in Denver too. And we are always constantly manifesting, which is why it's so important to get clear about your goals and where you're going in life and where you want to go in life, how you want to feel, because that's what's actually going to manifest itself into reality. Okay, so I just got back from Nicaragua, truly living that freedom lifestyle that I always talk about. Left my computer at home, put my phone on do not disturb. And the best part about it was that my real estate was running in the background, still bringing me income without me having to lift a finger. And it was blissful. And when I got back, I was just like, more people need to set this up for their lives for freedom. Okay. And so I haven't done this in a little bit, but I am going to be hosting a free masterclass on June 25th on how to get started investing in real estate in 2024. Because y'all, it is halfway through the year. And so many of you have told me that your goal was to buy real estate in 2024 and you still haven't done it. So let's change that, okay? And take you from burnt out corporate employee or burnt out business owner to actually bringing in passive income and having that freedom lifestyle. So come to my masterclass on June 25th. It is totally free. You can either find the link in the show notes or DM me the words free class. So like FREECLASS, like separate free class on Instagram, and we will get you all signed up. See you on June 25th. But okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the science behind manifestation. It is literally our brain's ability to grow and change through a process called neuroplasticity. Now, neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to grow, change, and adapt throughout life. This process helps us develop life skills that allows us to grow and become more independent as we age. Neuroplasticity is the most active during childhood and our teenage years, which is why we grow and change so much. And, it feels like we've lived a billion lives in our, first 20 years of our lives. But it happens throughout our entire lives. We just have to train our brains to adapt and grow and learn. And people who don't train their brains to adapt and grow and learn, that's when you grow into like an old crabby person who's stuck in their ways and is unable to change their minds about anything. Now, not just that, but manifestation is rooted in quantum physics, which states that everything in the universe is actually made up of energy. And when someone declares an intention and practices manifestation to align their energy with the universal energy, they tap into that energy of the thing that they desire. And that is how they actually bring the thing that they desire into reality. Once again, if you think this is mumbo jumbo, that's okay. But just know that there really is some basis behind it. Okay, so enough of the science part. There are different kinds of manifestors. And how does this relate to us manifesting the property that we want, or the job that we want, or money in our life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? There are two kinds of manifestors. There's specific manifestors and non-specific manifestors. I'm a non-specific manifestor, but first let's go over what a specific manifestor is, because that's going to be a little bit easier to understand. So, for specific manifestors, in order to manifest, they need to be extremely clear and detailed about exactly what they want. For example, let's say you want a house, right? You're then going to go ahead and literally write out every single feature about the house that you want. Maybe it is a house with a front porch, it has quartz countertops, it's in X neighborhood with an ADU, and it has a yard, is on a cul-de-sac. I don't know, right? Make it up. But so it's this extremely focused view and this ability to really zero in on all of the details. And once you get really, really clear about that, that's actually how you manifest the fastest if you're a specific manifester. And your human design chart will actually be able to tell you if you're a specific manifester or not. So, once again, if you want to know if you are, go get the My Human Design app. It will tell you. And yes, I know sometimes it may feel silly to list out every single little thing, but you, as a specific manifester, were literally gifted with the ability to manifest specifically. And it helps with the manifestation process. So essentially, you just need to know exactly what you want, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that is how you're going to live authentically and in alignment with who you're meant to be. So things like vision boards, writing down your goals super, super specifically, writing down lists, all of that is incredibly helpful. You just have to make sure that what you're manifesting in is something that you actually believe in. Because if you don't actually believe that it's true and that it's going to happen, the universe will know that. And it's going to be a lot harder to manifest that into reality. So that's why we work so much on our mindset to believe that the things that we actually want in life are actually going to happen. So if you are a specific manifestor, get really, really clear about what you're looking for in order for it to manifest itself into reality. Now, for my non specific manifestors, fellow non specific manifestors out there, when we get way too specific, it actually constricts our manifestations from happening. So that's kind of what I was saying about my first investment property. I couldn't have picked it out. Like, literally, I was not looking in this area originally. I was not looking at new constructions. Like, it just was something that I didn't even know existed, right? But I knew the feelings that I wanted to have within the property. I knew what it would feel like for it to be the one, right? Now, this may be extremely confusing because we always talk about the importance of like vision boarding and getting clear and being specific. But for us non specific manifestors, the feeling that we are wanting to attract is infinitely more important than the actual details. So, for example, did I know I wanted to do a coaching program? No, but I knew I wanted to create something that had a sense of community where it felt like I was really helping people. And it was so funny because originally the Wanderlust Wealth Academy coaching program was just going to be a digital course. Now, I do have it as a digital course. I don't really tell people to just buy the digital course because the coaching program is really where the value is. But it wasn't until my first like coaching session with my students that I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is it. This feels right. This feels like it. So even though I didn't know all of the little tiny details of how I wanted the program to feel like, etc., I manifested the feeling that I would get whenever I actually put it out there and started coaching people and started doing the program. The same thing happened with my first investment property. I knew I wanted it to feel light, bright, and airy, and that it felt like home and it was cozy, but it was still adorable, right? But I was open to it being in different parts of town. And I was open to it being either a new construction or something that was a little bit older, but I knew how I wanted it to feel. And it's really hard when you're working with a real estate agent who's like, this property, and you're like, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. Right? They're like, what do you want from me? And it's so funny because just like as a non-specific manifestor, that's just how it is. So you want to focus a lot more on how you want the experience to feel. Not necessarily the thing itself, but how you want the experience to feel. It's the same thing with the bougie membership club that I have. I knew what I was like looking for internally. I just didn't know that was exactly what it was, and that's how it existed. Because sometimes too, when we try to manifest like specific things and then we get the thing and we're like, that isn't quite what we were expecting because we didn't realize that we were actually trying to manifest the feeling behind it and not the thing itself. But here is the weird thing about manifestation. When we want something so freaking badly, we can sometimes constrict it from happening. So it's not until you have this deep and utter knowing inside you that something is going to happen, that it's actually going to happen. For example, we know that the sun is always going to rise. We're never worried that the sun is going to rise today because it rises every single day and we know that it's going to happen. That is the same level of knowing you need to have behind getting a property, behind being able to quit your job, behind reaching financial freedom, behind finding a gym, right? You have to have this like absurd level of knowing that it is going to work out because that is when you're really able to bring in the manifestation. With manifestation, there's an art of pulling it in and just letting it go and trusting the universe will figure it out. Now, just putting it out there, it is a lot harder said than done. 1000% because we all like to strangle our goals. We're like, I'm going to focus and I'm going to get this done. And usually that's when we feel that like extra tension, right? But you have to learn the art of being able to let it go. And I'm not going to lie, I'm still working on this. I go through ebbs and flows. Sometimes I feel like I've got the knowing, I'm feeling it, feels good. And other times, like, I really want this to happen. And it doesn't happen. I'm like, of course it didn't happen. It's because I've been strangling my goals. So I hope that this was super helpful. I know that this was a very different kind of podcast episode, but seriously, go and look at your human design, learn what kind of an energy type you have, learn about your strategy, go and figure out what kind of a manifestor you are so that you can really start to play around with that and call in the thing that you really want to happen. I hope you thought this was helpful. If you felt that this podcast episode was different or cool or whatever, I would love it if you actually left me a review, shared this with a friend. I know this is very different from any other real estate podcast out there, but I just felt such a big calling to share this with you, share what I'm learning with you, what's really helping me get to those next stages and those next levels. But I hope you enjoy. Love you, fam. Thank you so much for listening to Wanderlust Wealth Show. Now, don't forget to follow the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you love this episode, it would literally mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or a family member, or literally like anyone off of the street. Like right now, go ahead, share it so you don't forget, or post it on social media and make sure to tag me. I love seeing what you're listening in on and what you resonated with, and I'm just so freaking thankful for you. I'm so freaking excited for you. I love you, and don't forget, life really doesn't have to be hard.